Well, what I'm going to do is give a different perspective on the Kenneka Jenkins story. I've heard a lot of things that have been said about Kenneka Jenkins. Uh, what's really disturbing about a lot of people that's following that story is it seems to have become a cult following. I mean, not just in the Chicago area or in that city, but worldwide, it seems that there's a lot of folks that are really concerned about what has happened to Kenneka Jenkins, and rightfully so, because this is from a law enforcement perspective, having been serving as a law enforcement officer for 26 years and as a former attorney. Let me tell you what my perspective on this whole thing is. Kenneka Jenkins was obviously murdered based on what we saw or what you saw in the videos, based on what the police department had presented, based on the information that's been put out. It's obvious that some foul play has gone on. However, people seem to forget the fact that the FBI did an investigation on the Chicago Police Department just this year and determined that it was one of the most corrupt agencies in the country. And no one seemed to be that outraged by it. The gang violence in the Chicago area is at an all time height. And don't think that's by chance, that is actually by design. The police department has closed the investigation on the Jenkins murder. They ruled her death an accident. Yet there are still thousands of folks out here that are looking at the videos, making comments, doing their own sleuth investigations, as if your opinion at this point is going to make a difference. It isn't. The law enforcement powers that be have ruled her death an accident and they have closed it, as tragic as it is. But here's the larger question, and here's what you really need to be concerned about. If the police have concluded and ruled her death an accident, and if they have closed the case, there is still a murderer running around on the streets of Chicago and in other places where other young women within weeks were also murdered under the same or similar circumstances that's out there. And no one seems to be outraged about that. Actually, no one's talking about it. There is no police investigations that's looking for a suspect. There is no investigation looking at who may have been responsible, who may be indicted, who may have been involved, any kind of conspiracies. But just know this: Miss Jenkins was among friends when she went out that night. Usually, when you are maimed, hurt, robbed, burglarized, or killed, 9 times out of 10 is with people or by someone that you know and that you trust and that you are familiar with. That young woman went out with folks that she was familiar with, that she knew, and she lost her life, which means that somehow, some way, one or more of those people were involved. And they'll lie and say that they were not involved, or they may even state how somehow they knew what was going on but just didn't say anything. Nonetheless, she was with people that she trusted, and those people let her down. So, for all of you that are out there following this right now and spending all of your time and your energy still investigating a case that has been closed, and nothing that you say or do is going to cause it to be opened again, because you're not a family member, you're not a representative of government, county, state, or local otherwise, to order it open. You're not a mayor, you're not a governor, you're not a prosecuting agency to order it open again. All you have is your opinion about what happened, and it isn't going to change a thing at this point. What you should be more worried about is why isn't anyone looking for the murderer? Maybe it's because the police department and certain medical personnel and staff, some of the gang members who are probably being paid to cause the demise of these people so their organs can be harvested. Maybe that's the conversation that you should be having. Maybe you should be talking about how to protect yourself and your loved ones, your families, so you don't become the next victim. Because that's what it looks like to me is happening right now in those cities. Your lives don't matter. And as long as you can be distracted as to what has happened and has been closed and what uh, the powers that be have determined to be an accident, and they've closed the case and moved on, you're still talking about things that don't matter. But here's one thing that definitely matters: the murderer is still walking among you, and those murderers are still in your neighborhood, and those murderers are still taking lives every day, every hour, every week, every month, every year. It's still going on. But what are you doing about it? What are you doing about that part to stop that? What accountability are you holding your elected officials to, your councilmen, your aldermen, your mayors? Nothing. Nothing is ever done. Life goes on as usual, but people get on these social media platforms and they talk things to death. But I'm telling you, talk is cheap. But the next victim just might be you. You better wake up and do something about it. And you better hold those that claim to protect and serve you, make them do just that. Because right now, they're not doing it.